Light. It always begins with light. A faint glow piercing the darkness. My eyelids heavy as lead, my mind floating in a fog of shadows. I don't know how long I've been here. Sometimes I hear voices, distant, distorted, talking about me, not to me. Vital signs. Neurological response. Irreversible brain damage. Words that barely graze the surface of my numb consciousness. My name is Elena Vasquez. I'm 43, or maybe older now. Time doesn't exist when you live between life and something that isn't quite death. The last thing I remember, the creak of wood, a vertigo sensation, and then, nothing. Later, they said I fell down the stairs. 22 oak steps I had walked 1,000 times. The impact fractured my skull in 3 places. My brain swelled until doctors removed part of the bone, like opening a pressure cooker. I could hear them, though they didn't know. The brain is the greatest mystery. Mine shut down, but not completely. Just enough to trap me in a limbo called coma. 4 letters, both prison and refuge. It's not like in movies. No deep sleep, no silent darkness. It's like a room where lights flicker on and off. Voices drift in and out. Time dissolves. My daughter Isabel came every day. Vanilla perfume, her secret hand code. 3 fingers, thumb, full palm. "So you know it's me, Mom," she whispered. Robert, my husband, came less. His cologne arrived before he did. He spoke about mortgages, Isabel's grades, my sister's calls. Sometimes he cried. Sometimes he acted like we were home. And then there was her, the silent one. Heavy breathing near my bed. Adjusting pillows too hard. Always visiting when no one else was around. A shadow sliding over my skin. Doctors said it was automatic response when my pulse quickened. But I knew it was fear. Primitive fear that pierced even my coma. 4 Christmases passed this way. I counted seasons by sunlight, cold air, overheard conversations. 3 years, 47 months, almost 4 years. 4 years of suspended life. Body without voice, mind with no exit. Until one morning. My brain decided to ripen like fruit to wake. First came sound, the beep of the monitor, a tray clattering in the hall. Then sensation, sheets rough with bleach, IV needle, trach tube. Finally, light. My eyelids opened after 1,461 days. The brightness was blinding. The world too sharp after so much twilight. A nurse gasped, IV bag falling. "She's awake, Dr. Ramirez." Chaos followed. Pupils checked, machines screaming, questions I couldn't answer. Through it all, one thought sharpened. A name. The name that explained the creaking wood, the hands on my back, the fall. A name that would change everything. Dr. Ramirez, my neurologist, held my chart trembling. "Elena, if you understand me, blink twice." With effort, I did. Relief washed over his face. "We'll remove the tube now." It burned like tearing away a piece of me. I coughed, cried, whispered my first word. "Water." Cold liquid down my throat felt like heaven. "Do you know where you are?" "Hospital," I croaked. "Do you remember what happened?" Flashes, stairs, argument, hands, hatred. "I fell," I said, saving the rest. He explained, "Almost 4 years in coma. Speaking now is extraordinary." 4 years. My heart raced, machines echoing my fear. "My family," I asked. "We've called them, they're on their way." Robert, Isabel, and her, the cold visitor. Now she had a name. Carla. I closed my eyes. Not to sleep, never again, but to wander through memories. Meeting Robert in college. Isabel's birth. The lies. The perfume. The party. Carla Moreno. The door burst open. Isabel rushed in, older, but with the same eyes. She froze, afraid I was a ghost. "Mom?" I reached out. "Isabel." She collapsed onto me, crying. Vanilla perfume wrapped me like a forgotten dream. "I knew you'd come back." "I knew it, Mom. My little girl," I whispered. though she wasn't anymore. Her eyes held premature maturity. "How have you been?" "Surviving," she said. "Honest, simple, heavy. You never stopped coming." "Not one day," she said, "even when Dad said we had to move on." Robert's name hovered between us. "Where is he?" I asked, though I knew. Isabel lowered her gaze. "He was at Carla's house when they called." "They're together," I said flatly. Isabel nodded. "He moved in 2 years ago. Said he couldn't live with memories." "And you?" "I stayed at home. He visits, but it's not the same." Anger boiled, not for his betrayal, but for leaving her alone in that haunted house. "And her? Carla?" I asked, spitting her name. Isabel tensed. "She comes sometimes, when no one's here. I think she feels guilty." "She should," I said, voice sharp. Isabel looked at me, puzzled. "Why do you say it like that, Mom?" The hospital room became the epicenter of an emotional earthquake. Dr. Ramirez, the neurologist who had followed my case for years, held my medical chart with trembling hands. His face reflected the perfect mix of scientific amazement and human emotion. To him, I was both a medical miracle and an improbable statistic. "Elena, if you understand me, blink twice," he said with a measured voice. The simple act of controlling my eyelids required superhuman concentration. My muscles, atrophied from inactivity, protested at each command from my newly awakened brain. But I managed it. 2 slow, deliberate blinks. The relief on his face was immediate. "We're going to remove the tube from your throat. It will be uncomfortable, but I need you to try to stay calm." The process was brief but intense, a burning sensation, an inverted invasion, as if they were tearing away a part of me that had already integrated into my anatomy. I coughed violently as tears ran down my cheeks. "Water," I whispered in a voice I didn't recognize. Rough as sandpaper, weak as a worn thread. The nurse brought a small cup with a straw to my dry lips. The cold liquid descended down my irritated throat, bringing momentary relief and the first sensation of physical pleasure in 4 years. "Do you know where you are?" Dr. Ramirez asked while examining my pupils with his flashlight. "Hospital," I managed to articulate. Each syllable was a monumental effort. "Do you remember what happened to you?" The images came like flashes from a fragmented film. The upstairs hallway of my house. The polished wood beneath my bare feet. The heated argument. The expression of hatred. The hands on my back. The sudden emptiness beneath my feet. "I fell," I replied, saving the rest for later. For when I had strength. For when I knew who I could trust. "You've been in a coma for almost 4 years, Elena. The fact that you're conscious, recognizing your surroundings, and able to speak, even minimally, is extraordinary." 4 years. I knew a long time had passed, but hearing it confirmed made my heart race. The machines immediately registered the change. "Easy now," said the nurse, adjusting something on one of the monitors. "Everything in its own time." "My family," I managed to say. Dr. Ramirez nodded. "We've already called your husband and daughter. They're on their way. Robert, Isabel." The names evoked a mixture of longing and fear. How would they have changed? How would my absence have affected their lives? Isabel would now be 18. She would no longer be the girl I remembered. And Robert, who always came home late with increasingly elaborate excuses. Robert, whose phone calls always ended abruptly when I entered the room. Robert, whose laptop was protected with passwords that changed every week. Robert, who had sworn eternal love to 2 women, and her. She would come too, no doubt. The silent visitor, the cold shadow. Now she had a name in my mind, a name that burned like acid every time I thought of it. "I need to rest," I said, closing my eyes to escape my own thoughts. "Of course," the doctor replied. "Your brain needs to process all of this. It's like restarting a very complex operating system." They left me alone with the hum of the machines, with the rhythmic drip of the IV, with the weight of my reconstructed memories. I didn't sleep. Not really. After 4 years of darkness, the last thing I wanted was to close my eyes. Instead, I allowed my mind to wander through the recesses of my memory, looking for pieces of the puzzle I'd been putting together in the limbo of my coma. I remembered the day I met Robert 20 years ago, his shy smile in that university cafeteria, his passion for architecture, the way his eyes lit up when he talked about spaces, lights, and shadows. I remembered Isabel's birth. The pain transformed into the purest love I had ever felt. Her tiny fingers gripping my thumb with surprising strength for someone so small. I remembered the first signs, the furtive calls, the business trips that multiplied, the unfamiliar perfume on his shirt, the nights when he came home too late or too happy. And I remembered the day I met her, at Robert's company party, his personal assistant, 20 years younger than me. Perfect in all the ways I was not anymore. Carla Moreno. A name that meant nothing then and now meant everything. "So nice to finally meet you," she had said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Robert talks about you so much." The lie hanging between us like a toxic perfume. The door to the room burst open, interrupting the flow of my memories. Isabel rushed in, now a young woman, but with the same eyes I remembered. She stopped a few steps from my bed, as if afraid I was an apparition that might vanish. "Mom?" she asked, her voice breaking. I extended my trembling hand toward her. "Isabel," I whispered. She threw herself at me, careful not to disturb the tubes and cables, but with the urgency of 4 years of contained hugs. Her hair smelled like vanilla, as always. Some things didn't change. "I can't believe it," she sobbed against my shoulder. "The doctor said you would probably never, that we should consider, but I knew you'd come back. I knew it, Mom." I stroked her hair with awkward movements, my muscles relearning old patterns. "My little girl," I said, though she no longer was one. Her face had lost the roundness of childhood. Her eyes showed a premature maturity. "How have you been?" A ridiculously simple question for 4 years of absence. But she understood. "Surviving," she answered honestly. "School friends. Trying to be normal when nothing was normal. People stopped asking about you after the 2nd year, as if you were already, you know. But you never stopped coming," I said, remembering her perfume, her coated caresses. "Not a single day," she confirmed, even when Dad said we needed to move on. Robert. The name floated between us. "Where is he?" I asked, though part of me already knew the answer. Isabel looked away. "He's on his way. He was, at Carla's house when they called." Carla. Now her name could be spoken openly. "They're together," I said. It wasn't a question. Isabel nodded. "He moved in with her 2 years ago. He said he needed space, that he couldn't live in a house full of memories." "And you?" "I stayed at home. Our home. I didn't want to live with them. He comes to see me almost every day, that's fair. But it's not the same." Anger began to boil beneath my weak skin. Not for Robert's betrayal. That was old, almost irrelevant now. But for Isabel's abandonment, for leaving her alone in a house full of ghosts while he built a new life. "And her? Carla?" I asked, pronouncing her name as if it were a curse. Isabel visibly tensed. "She comes to see you sometimes, when no one's around. I think she feels guilty." "She should," I replied. My daughter looked at me curiously. "Why do you say it like that, Mom?" I hesitated, unprepared for the directness of Isabel's question. My throat, still raw from the tube's removal, ached as I swallowed. The machines monitoring my vitals betrayed the sudden spike in my heart rate. "It's complicated," I finally said, buying time. Should I tell her now? Was I even sure? 4 years is a long time for memories to distort, for imagination to fill gaps with fabricated certainties. Isabel's eyes, my eyes, really, the same hazel shade, studied me with an intelligence beyond her years. "There's something you're not telling me." Before I could respond, the door opened again. Robert stood in the doorway, a bouquet of white lilies in hand. My favorites, or they had been once. 4 years is also a long time to remember such details. He looked older. Gray peppered his once jet-black hair. New lines framed his eyes and mouth. But he was still handsome in that effortless way that had first attracted me to him 2 decades ago. "Elena," he whispered, his voice a mixture of disbelief and something else I couldn't quite identify. Relief? Guilt? Fear? Isabel stood up, creating a physical barrier between us. A protective gesture that spoke volumes about how their relationship had evolved in my absence. "I'll give you two some time," she said, squeezing my hand. Then, turning to her father, she added in a lower voice, "She just woke up. Don't upset her." The door closed behind her, leaving us alone with the rhythmic beeping of the machines and 20 years of shared history. Robert approached cautiously, as if I might shatter or disappear. He placed the lilies on the bedside table and took the chair Isabel had vacated. "The doctor said it's a miracle," he began, "that they've never seen someone recover consciousness after so long with such cognitive clarity." "Is that what they're calling it?" My voice was stronger now, fueled by a quiet rage that had been building during my years of silence. "Cognitive clarity?" He shifted uncomfortably. "How are you feeling?" "Like I fell down a flight of stairs and lost 4 years of my life," I replied coldly. "How do you think I'm feeling, Robert?" He flinched at the edge in my voice. "I deserve that." "You deserve a lot more than that." A heavy silence fell between us. Outside my window, rain had begun to fall, droplets racing each other down the glass. Somewhere in the hospital, an announcement echoed through the corridors, too distorted to understand. "I never meant for any of this to happen," he finally said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Which part?" I asked. "Your affair with Carla, or my fall down the stairs?" His head snapped up, eyes wide with shock. "What are you implying?" "I'm not implying anything. I'm stating facts." The words tumbled out steady and clear despite my physical weakness. "You were having an affair with Carla. I discovered it the night of my accident. We argued at the top of the stairs. She was there." Robert's face drained of color. "Elena, that's not... Don't lie to me. Not anymore." My voice cracked with emotion. "I remember, Robert. I remember everything, and I did." The memories that had been assembling themselves during my years of darkness were now crystal clear. That night had started like any other. Dinner with Isabel, helping her with homework, waiting for Robert to come home from another late meeting. When he hadn't arrived by midnight, I'd called his office, no answer. I'd called his cell, straight to voicemail. Then I'd done something I'd never done before. Used the Find My Phone app we'd set up for family emergencies. The blinking dot on the map wasn't at his office. It wasn't at any client site. It was at a residential address in the suburbs. A quick property search revealed the owner, Carla Moreno. I'd waited up for him, sitting in the darkness of our bedroom until 2 a.m. when his key finally turned in the lock. I'd confronted him immediately, shown him the map, asked for the truth. He'd denied it at first, said he was helping Carla with a work crisis. But the lipstick on his collar, such a cliché, told a different story. We'd argued, loudly. Isabel had stayed at a friend's house that night, thankfully. But Carla had been outside in his car, waiting. And when she'd heard the shouting, she'd come in. She was there, I repeated now, watching his face crumple. She came into our house, Robert. She stood in our foyer and defended your relationship while I stood at the top of the stairs. "This is your medication talking," he said desperately. "The doctors warned there might be confusion, false memories." "Stop it," I interrupted. "You're still trying to gaslight me? After everything?" "Carla was never in our house that night," Robert insisted, his voice rising. "She was never there." "Then how did I know her perfume?" I asked quietly. "The same scent that followed her into my hospital room all these years?" He fell silent, his hands twisting in his lap. "She came to visit me when no one was around," I continued. Isabel confirmed it. "What was she doing here, Robert, checking to make sure I wouldn't wake up and tell the truth?" "This is insane," he whispered. You fell. It was an accident. The police investigated. Did they? I asked. Or did they see what you wanted them to see? A tragic domestic accident. A clumsy wife. A devoted husband suddenly burdened with a comatose spouse. A sob escaped him then, raw and broken. I loved you, Elena. I still do in a way. In a way, I repeated bitterly. Just not enough to stay faithful. Not enough to keep her away from me after she pushed me down those stairs. She didn't push you. The words exploded from him. He stood up abruptly, pacing beside my bed. You were upset. You were crying. You took a step backward and you just fell. Is that what she told you? I asked. Is that what you've been telling yourself for 4 years? It's what happened, he insisted. I was there. I saw it. No, you weren't, I said with absolute certainty. You were in the kitchen getting a drink. You didn't see anything. But I felt her hands on my back, Robert. I felt the push. His face contorted with a mixture of anger and despair. The doctors said there might be false memories, confabulations. Why are you protecting her? I asked. After what she did to me, to our family. He stopped pacing, his back to me, shoulders slumped. There is no family anymore, Elena. There hasn't been for a long time. The words struck like physical blows. Because of her. Because of us. He corrected quietly. All of us. Me, you, the choices we made, the people we became. I laughed, a harsh sound that hurt my throat. Are you seriously trying to blame me for your affair? For what happened to me? He turned back to face me, his eyes red-rimmed. No, the affair was my fault. I take full responsibility for that betrayal. But your fall was an accident, Elena. A terrible, tragic accident that destroyed all our lives. She pushed me, I repeated, each word distinct and clear. And I'm going to make sure everyone knows it. A knock at the door interrupted our confrontation. Dr. Ramirez entered, followed by a younger doctor I didn't recognize. I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask you to leave, Mr. Vasquez, Dr. Ramirez said, glancing between us with concern. Mrs. Vasquez's vital signs are showing significant stress and we need to run some tests. Robert nodded, gathering himself. He leaned in as if to kiss my forehead. An old habit, but stopped when I flinched away. We'll talk more later, he said quietly. When you're feeling better. I remember what happened, Robert, I said as he reached the door. And her name was the first word on my lips when I woke up. Remember that. After he left, the doctors busied themselves with their tests, blood pressure, pupil response, cognitive assessments. I answered their questions mechanically, my mind still reeling from the confrontation with Robert. You're doing remarkably well, Mrs. Vasquez, Dr. Ramirez said, reviewing the results. Your brain function is returning much faster than we anticipated. However, I am concerned about your emotional state. This kind of stress isn't good for your recovery. I just accused my husband of covering up his girlfriend's attempt to kill me, I replied flatly. I think I'm entitled to some stress. The doctors exchanged glances. Mrs. Vasquez, the younger doctor began cautiously. Traumatic brain injuries can sometimes cause... Don't, I cut him off. Don't tell me what I do or don't remember, Dr. Ramirez sighed. We're not questioning your memories, Elena. But the human mind is complex, especially after trauma. What feels absolutely real may be... I know what happened, I insisted, and I need to talk to the police. In time, Dr. Ramirez assured me. Right now, your recovery is our priority. You've been immobile for 4 years. Your muscles have atrophied. You need physical therapy, nutritional support, psychological counseling. I need justice, I interrupted. Before she realizes I remember and tries to finish the job. The younger doctor looked alarmed, but Dr. Ramirez maintained his professional calm. No one is going to harm you here, Elena. You're safe, but making accusations without evidence could be problematic. Then help me get evidence, I pleaded. There must be something. Hospital security footage of her visits, the original police report. Something. Let's focus on getting you stronger first, Dr. Ramirez suggested gently. Then we can address these concerns properly. But as they left, I knew I couldn't wait. 4 years had been stolen from me already. 4 years of Isabel's life. 4 years while Robert and Carla built their relationship on the foundation of my broken body. No more waiting. No more silence. I had finally found my voice again, and I intended to use it. Starting with one name, Carla Moreno, the woman who pushed me down the stairs and thought she'd gotten away with it. The next few days passed in a blur of medical tests, physical therapy sessions, and uncomfortable conversations. My body, dormant for so long, rebelled against every attempt to revive it. Muscles screamed, joints protested. Even sitting upright was exhausting. The body forgets, my therapist Megan explained as she guided my legs, but it also remembers. We just need to remind it. Remind it. As if my body had simply misplaced the knowledge of how to walk, how to hold a spoon, how to exist, just as I was supposed to have misplaced my memories of that night. No one believed me about Carla. Not openly, at least. Dr. Ramirez remained neutral. Dr. Patel urged me to focus on recovery first, resolution later. Even Nurse Diane gently steered conversations away from accusations. Only Isabel seemed to consider the possibility. It makes sense, she said during a visit, arranging photos on my bedside table. Carla always seemed too perfect, too controlled. Did she ever say anything about that night? I asked, careful to stay calm. The last thing I wanted was for Isabel to feel caught between us. Not really. But she acted weird whenever anyone mentioned your accident. Changed the subject, left the room. Isabel looked up suddenly. And Dad never let me be alone with her. Not once in 4 years. He didn't? No. At first I thought he didn't want me attached to her, but maybe he was afraid she'd slip up, I finished. Say something she shouldn't know. Isabel nodded slowly. You were always so careful on those stairs. You made me hold the railing every single time, even when I was 17. A flash of memory. Isabel as a toddler, gripping the banister, taking steps with exaggerated care while I hovered behind her. Safety first, I murmured. That's what you always said. Isabel squeezed my hand. Dad came home that night covered in your blood. He looked shattered. Where was Carla? I don't know, I didn't meet her until weeks later. At first she was just his colleague, then a close friend. By the 1-year mark, she was staying over. The thought of that woman in my house, using my bathroom, sleeping in my bed, made bile rise in my throat. I'm so sorry you had to go through that alone. I wasn't completely alone, Isabel said. Aunt Sophia came a lot, and Grandma moved in for almost a year before. Before what? Before she got sick. Cancer. She died 2 years ago. My mother. Gone. Another loss I hadn't even known about. Tears welled up before I could stop them. I'm sorry, Isabel said quickly. I should have waited. Dr. Ramirez said not to overwhelm you. I shook my head, wiping clumsy tears. No, I need to know. All of it. I've lost enough time already. That evening, after Isabel left, I lay awake cataloging my losses. My mother. 4 years of Isabel's life. My career as a teacher. Gone. My home. Tainted. My marriage. Broken long before my fall. And my body. Gaunt cheeks. Sallow skin. Hair half gray. A fragile shell that struggled with even the basics of living. This is normal, Megan reassured. You'll recover. Maybe not exactly as before, but you'll be strong again. I clung to that promise, walking parallel bars, gripping rubber balls, practicing buttons, writing, brushing my teeth. By week 2, I could walk with a walker. By week 3, with a cane. Small victories in a war against atrophy. Robert visited every other day, always during therapy, always brief, supervised, safe. Isabel says you're making amazing progress, he said, watching me walk. No thanks to you, I replied coldly. He flinched. The insurance is covering everything. I made sure of that. And when you're ready to be discharged, we can talk about arrangements. Arrangements? I gripped the cane harder. You mean where I'll live? Since you moved your girlfriend into my house? She's not living in your house, he corrected. I sold it last year. We live in her condo now. Another loss. The home we built, the garden, the staircase that nearly killed me. You sold my home without my consent. You were declared medically incapacitated. I had power of attorney. The house was too big, too expensive when we didn't know if I'd ever wake up, I finished. If you'd ever have to deal with me again. That's not fair. None of this is fair, Robert. I turned away, finishing my steps. By the way, when do I get to see Carla? She hasn't visited since I woke up. I find that interesting, don't you? His silence spoke louder than words. Tell her I'm asking for her. Tell her I want to talk about that night. Elena, please. His voice strained. Nothing good can come from digging this up. Nothing good for whom? For you? For her? I turned to him, standing with my cane like a weapon. Because for me, truth matters. Nurse Diane stepped in, sharp as ever. That's enough for today, Mr. Vasquez. Elena needs rest. He left, hunched under invisible weight. You shouldn't antagonize him, Diane said, helping me back to my chair. He's still your next of kin. He decides if anything happens. Not for long, I said. I've asked for a lawyer. Isabel will be my proxy. Diane nodded. Smart. But be careful. He avoids conflict. The girlfriend, though, she worries me. A chill ran through me. You saw her? Night shift sees everything. And something about her never sat right with me. The way she looked at you, it wasn't guilt. It was like she was making sure you stayed asleep. I froze. What do you mean? 2 years ago, I caught her adjusting your IV line at 2 a.m. She claimed she was just straightening tubing. I reported it, but without proof. Nothing happened, I whispered. Security got stricter after that, and I checked on you more often. I squeezed her hand. Thank you for watching me. Just doing my job, she said softly. That night, alone in my room, I made a decision. I couldn't wait for others to uncover the truth. I had to act. The next morning, when Dr. Patel came for our session, I was ready. I want to talk about the night of my accident, I said. I need to process what happened. She looked surprised but pleased. That's a healthy step, Elena. I agree, and I think it would help if I could see the police report, to fill in the gaps. Dr. Patel hesitated. I'm not sure I can provide that. Then who should I ask? Because someone pushed me down those stairs, doctor, and I'm the only witness. Dr. Patel's expression shifted almost imperceptibly, a tightening around the eyes, a slight compression of her lips. Elena, I understand your frustration, but pursuing this theory might not be the best use of your energy right now. Your recovery should be. My recovery includes remembering what happened to me, I interrupted, and accountability for the person responsible. She sighed, making a note in her ever-present tablet. I'll see what I can do about obtaining a copy of the police report. In the meantime, let's talk about how these memories are affecting your emotional state. The session continued with her gentle probing and my careful responses. I'd learned quickly that appearing too fixated on Carla's guilt would only reinforce their belief that I was suffering from confabulation, so I played along, expressing appropriate uncertainty while never wavering from my core belief. Carla Moreno had pushed me down those stairs, and somehow I would prove it. 3 days later, Isabel arrived for her visit carrying a manila envelope. What's that? I asked as she settled into the chair beside my bed. I was sitting up unassisted now, another small victory. Something you should see. She glanced nervously at the door before pulling out a stack of papers. It's not the police report. Dad has the only copy, and he keeps it locked in his safe. But I found these in Mom's things after she died. My mother, always organized, always prepared. Even in death, she was looking out for me. What are they? I reached for the papers with hands that still trembled slightly but were growing stronger each day. Mom kept a journal about your case. She never believed it was an accident either. Isabel handed me the first page. She documented everything. Her conversations with Dad, with the doctors, with the police, and she hired a private investigator. My eyes widened. She what? Only for a few months until the money ran out, but he found some things. Isabel leaned closer. Things about Carla. I scanned the first page, my mother's familiar handwriting bringing a fresh wave of grief. It was dated 3 weeks after my accident. Robert is hiding something. His story doesn't add up. He claims Elena tripped and fell, but the police detective mentioned signs of a struggle, a broken vase, displaced furniture. When I asked Robert about it, he said Elena was upset about his friendship with Carla and had thrown the vase during their argument. Why would he lie to the police about this? And why won't he let me see the official report? I turned to the next page, dated a month later. Made contact with a private investigator today. James Morales, former police detective with good references. Expensive, but necessary. I need to know what really happened to my daughter. The following pages documented my mother's meetings with Morales and her growing suspicions, but it was the entry from 6 months after my accident that made my breath catch. Morales found something. Security camera footage from our neighbor's house caught a glimpse of Robert's car that night. The timestamp shows 2:17 a.m. But Robert told police he arrived home alone at 1:30 a.m. and found me at 1:45 a.m. Where was he during that missing half hour? And more importantly, who was with him? The footage was too grainy to see passengers clearly, but Morales was certain there was someone in the passenger seat. There's more, Isabel said, pointing to another page. Keep reading. Called the hospital, pretending to be Carla's reference for a job application. The HR department confirmed she worked there from 2016-2019 as a pharmacy technician. She was disciplined once for medication errors and eventually left by mutual agreement. What kind of errors? And why didn't she ever mention working at a hospital before joining Robert's firm? I looked up at Isabel. She was a pharmacy technician? Isabel nodded grimly. Someone who would know about medications, about dosages. The implication was clear. If Carla had pushed me, she might also have had the knowledge to keep me sedated, to interfere with my recovery. Did Grandma ever confront Dad with this? I asked. I don't think so. The PI got expensive, and then her health started declining. The journal entries stop about a year after your accident. Isabel hesitated. But there's one more thing you should see. She pulled out her phone and opened her Photos app. I found this on Dad's cloud account. He doesn't know I have access. He used the same password he's had since I was 12. The photo showed Robert and Carla at a beachfront restaurant smiling, raising glasses of champagne. The timestamp on the photo read August 15, 2021, 2 years after my accident. Look at her hand, Isabel said quietly. I zoomed in. An engagement ring glittered on Carla's left hand. A familiar ring. My engagement ring. He gave her my ring? The betrayal was so unexpected, so personal that it momentarily overshadowed everything else. While I was in a coma? They never officially got married, Isabel clarified. But they had some kind of commitment ceremony in Mexico about a year and a half ago, just the two of them. He couldn't legally marry her while still married to me, I realized. Not without declaring me dead or divorcing me, which would have raised questions. Exactly. And look at the date of that photo, Mom. August 15th. The significance hit me suddenly. My birthday? Isabel nodded. They celebrated their engagement on your birthday, with your ring, while you were lying in a hospital bed. The cruelty of it was breathtaking. Not just the affair, not just the possible attempted murder, but this deliberate erasure of me, celebrating their union on the day of my birth, with the ring that had symbolized Robert's promise to me. There's something very wrong with her, I whispered. With both of them. I think so too. But we don't have proof she pushed you. Not yet. Isabel squeezed my hand. But I have an idea. Carla doesn't know that we suspect anything. She thinks you're confused, traumatized. We can use that. How? You need to see her. Talk to her. Make her think you don't remember everything clearly. Get her to let her guard down. The thought of facing Carla made my stomach churn, but Isabel was right. She was the key to uncovering the truth. "I'll need to record the conversation somehow," I said, thinking through the logistics. Without her knowing. Isabel's eyes lit up. "I can help with that. I have a mini recorder from my journalism class. It's tiny, we can hide it." For the first time since waking up, I felt a surge of hope. "We need to be careful. If she realizes what we're doing." "She won't," Isabel assured me. "She's arrogant. Dad told me she's been saying your brain damage is worse than the doctors think, that you can't possibly remember the accident clearly." "She's underestimating me," I said, a cold determination settling in my chest. "That's good. People make mistakes when they're overconfident." "So we're doing this?" Isabel asked, a mixture of excitement and fear in her voice. "Yes," I confirmed. "But I need to get stronger first, physically and mentally. I need to be able to face her on equal footing." The next morning, I attacked my physical therapy with renewed vigor. When Megan expressed surprise at my sudden intensity, I simply told her I had a new motivation. "Whatever it is, keep it up," she said as I completed a full circuit of walking exercises without resting. "At this rate, you could be discharged within a month." A month. 4 more weeks to build my strength, refine my plan, and prepare to confront the woman who had stolen 4 years of my life. The woman who thought she had gotten away with attempted murder. Carla Moreno had no idea what was coming for her. 3 weeks of intensive physical therapy transformed me. My muscles, awakened from long dormancy, responded with surprising resilience. The cane became optional, then unnecessary. My hands steadied enough to apply makeup and style my hair again. Dr. Ramirez called it remarkable. Megan said I was her miracle patient. Isabel beamed with pride at every accomplishment. Only Dr. Patel seemed uneasy. "You seem singularly focused, Elena," she observed. "Almost obsessive about your recovery. Isn't that a good thing?" I countered, hiding the steel in my resolve. "Recovery isn't just about strength, it's about trauma, acceptance, and finding a new normal." "I'm working on all that," I lied smoothly. "But first, I need to stand on my own 2 feet." The plan unfolded slowly. Isabel provided a recording device, tiny, 6 hours of battery life. She brought a blue dress Robert had once loved, one Carla hadn't donated. It was comfortable, but sharp enough to make the meeting matter. "I talked to Dad," Isabel said. "Told him closure might help your recovery." "And?" "He's hesitant but considering it." "And?" "I already spoke to Carla." I froze. "You did what?" "I called her. Told her you were confused, that she could help clear things up." She agreed immediately. A chill ran through me, but pride too. "When?" "Tomorrow afternoon. Dad has a client meeting. She'll come alone." Just like we wanted. The morning came bright, sunlight spilling into my room. Nurse Diane helped me dress, adjusting the hidden recorder sewn into my collar. "Face her when she talks," Diane murmured. "If you feel threatened, press the call button. I'll be outside." "Thank you," I whispered, "for everything." Her eyes narrowed. "Be careful. That woman gives me the creeps." At exactly 2 p.m., a soft knock. Diane squeezed my shoulder before opening the door. Carla Moreno entered, slimmer, sharper, dark hair in a sleek bob, a cream pantsuit worth more than a month of Robert's salary, paid with my insurance money. "Elena," she said warmly, though her eyes calculated, "it's wonderful to see you awake. We've all been praying for this." I forced a smile. "Carla, thank you for coming." Diane gave a curt nod. "Press the button if you need anything. I'll be right outside." Her look lingered, heavy with meaning. The door closed. Carla advanced cautiously, as if I might attack. She laid a bouquet of lilies on the side table. "Robert sends his love. He wanted to be here, but—" "Client meeting," I cut in. "Isabel told me." She sat gracefully, smoothing her trousers. "How are you feeling?" "Like I've been asleep for 4 years," I replied. "Everything's disorienting." Her posture eased. "Understandable. The brain is delicate." The doctors say I might have false memories, I ventured. That trauma invents narratives. That makes sense, she said too quickly. Robert said you seemed confused that night. I frowned. I remember arguing about you. A flicker of tension crossed her face. Yes, he told me. He confessed to our relationship that evening. Our relationship was already over, she added, voice soft with practiced sympathy. But yes, you had just found out. I remember more, I whispered. I remember you were there. Her mask slipped for a moment, then returned. I wasn't there, Elena, just you and Robert. Strange, I said, because I remember your perfume, Chanel No. 5, the same scent that followed you into my hospital room during my coma. Her eyes widened. I did visit you. I felt responsible, not for the accident, but for my relationship with Robert. Responsible, I echoed. Interesting word. Perhaps the wrong word, she said earnestly. Elena, this must be so difficult, but it wasn't anyone's fault. It was a tragic accident. An accident, I repeated. Robert uses that word too. Because that's what it was, she insisted. You were upset, not thinking clearly. You fell. Tears filled my eyes. I keep seeing flashes, hands on my back, a push. Impossible, she snapped. I wasn't there. Robert was downstairs when you fell. He heard the crash. If you weren't there, how do you know where Robert was? I asked quietly. She faltered. He told me, afterward. Did he also tell you about the text I sent? The one where I said I'd expose your affair at his company's meeting the next day? Her face drained of color, her hands gripping the chair. I don't know what you're talking about, she stammered. But her voice trembled. I think you do, I pressed. That's why you came that night. Not just to support Robert, but to stop me. This is absurd, she cried, rising abruptly. You're imagining things. Am I? Then why did the investigator find footage of Robert's car returning at 2:17 a.m., almost an hour after he claimed to find me? Her reaction said it all. The blood drained from her face. Her flawless mask cracked. I should go, she whispered. You're not well. I'm perfectly well, Carla. My memories grow sharper every day. Do you know what the first word was I spoke when I woke from my coma? I leaned forward, holding her gaze. Your name. She moved with startling swiftness, crossing the space in 2 strides. Her hand gripped my wrist, hard enough to leave marks on my fragile skin. You don't know what you're doing, she hissed. You have no idea what you're risking. I met her gaze, refusing to flinch despite the pain. I know exactly what I'm doing, I said. I'm finally fighting back. The door burst open. Diane rushed in, alerted by the monitor detecting my racing heartbeat. Everything all right in here? Carla released me instantly, smiling smoothly. Perfectly fine. Elena just got emotional. I was comforting her. Diane's eyes narrowed at my wrist. I think that's enough for today. Ms. Moreno, please leave. Of course, Carla said. She turned to me, mask of concern back in place. Take care of yourself. Don't push too hard with these fantasies. They're not fantasies, I whispered. They're memories. After she left, Diane hurried to my side. Did she hurt you? Should I call security? No, I said, rubbing my wrist. This is exactly what I needed. She's scared now. 2 hours later, Isabel burst into my room. Her face flushed, her phone already in hand. She called Dad in the parking lot. They fought. One of my classmates recorded it. The audio was muffled, but clear enough. You said she wouldn't remember anything. Carla's voice panicked. Keep your voice down, Robert snapped. She knows, Robert. She knows I was there. Robert hissed. That's impossible. The neighbor's camera was... Carla cut him off. Because she knows exactly what time we got home. Then, silence. The recording ended. It's something, Isabel said breathlessly. Proof they're hiding the truth. It's a start, I agreed. But we need more. The next morning at the discharge meeting, Dr. Ramirez spoke first. Elena has made remarkable progress. She's ready to go home. Robert shifted in his chair, avoiding my eyes. I've looked into assisted living facilities. Assisted living? I cut him off. I can walk. I can care for myself. He fumbled. It would only be temporary. I want to go home, I said firmly. We don't have the house anymore, Robert admitted. I sold it. Then I'll come to Carla's condo, I countered. His face drained of color. That's not appropriate, he stammered. Why not? I'm still your wife. Or were you planning to divorce me now that I'm inconvenient? The room fell silent. Isabel's voice came from the doorway. She can stay with me. Dr. Ramirez nodded. That works, as long as outpatient therapy continues. It's settled, I said. I'm going home with my daughter. That night, Isabel and I made plans. We need to get into their condo, I explained. Find proof, something undeniable. Break in? She whispered. That's illegal. Not if I have a key, I said. And I was right. Sunday morning, with Robert at golf and Carla at brunch, I entered their pristine apartment. The key slid easily into the lock. The condo was immaculate, soulless. No photos, no warmth. I searched quickly, closets, drawers, filing cabinets. Then I found it, a hidden file labeled EV Medical. Inside, insurance papers, hospital records, a $2 million life insurance policy in Robert's name, taken out 6 months before my accident. My hands shook as I photographed everything. In Carla's drawer, a leather journal. Her handwriting spilled secrets across the pages. The cover-up, the alibi, the visits to my hospital room, then the flash drive. I opened the video. Robert and Carla in a hotel room. Her voice cold, precise. Accidents happen, Robert. Falls, car crashes, pills. His face horrified. I could never. You wouldn't have to, she said, touching his chest. Just look the other way. I pocketed the drive, heart pounding. And then, the sound of keys. The door swung open. Robert and Carla froze at the sight of me waiting. Elena? Robert gasped. How did you get in here? I held up my key. Some lessons never sink in. Carla's mask cracked. This is breaking and entering, she snapped. Call the police. Please do, I said, laying the evidence on the table. Let them see what I found. Their faces drained of color. The journal, the pills, the insurance policy, and the flash drive. Carla's hands trembled. You've lost your mind, she spat. Did you know she recorded you? I asked Robert. His eyes widened. She what? Her hesitation was answer enough. Robert stepped back, betrayed. Against me? He asked hollowly. Against the situation, Carla corrected. But then her anger broke. You were hysterical, she shouted. You threatened to ruin everything. You fell. Silence fell like a blade. You just said you weren't there, I whispered. Now suddenly you remember? Robert's eyes turned on her slowly. Carla, what did you do? Her panic shifted to cold calculation. You have no real proof, she sneered. It's your word against ours. Not anymore, I said. I touched my collar, the recorder Isabel had sewn in. Every word you just spoke is captured. Her smile faltered. You bitch, she hissed. No, I said. Just a woman who woke up. The doorbell rang. Robert froze. That's the police, I lied. Carla bolted, but Robert grabbed her arm. No more, he said, broken. No more lies. The door opened. Not the police. Isabel. Mom, you've been here an hour. Are you okay? I smiled. Perfectly. Robert stared at her. You knew? I knew she deserved the truth, Isabel said fiercely. Carla's defiance faltered. For once, she had no words. Weeks later, in the courtroom, I faced her. The evidence was undeniable. The pills matched my tox screens. The journal and video confirmed intent. Carla was sentenced for attempted murder, Robert for obstruction and perjury. I divorced him the next day. It was over. Outside, Isabel held my hand. It's really over, she whispered. Yes, I said. Now we begin again. That night I opened my own journal, not to record pain, but hope. Not about the past, but the future. About waking up, in every sense. The doctors had called it a miracle, but the real miracle wasn't surviving the coma. It was finding the truth, and finding myself. My mother's words returned to me. The truth always rises, she had said. No matter how deep you push it down, it always comes back. She was right. The truth had risen, and so had I.